Should teenagers have a curfew? Many say that your teenage years are your best years. They're the best years to have fun. They're the best years to really explore the world before you really have to buckle down and get jobs and do all that kind of stuff. But what if your fun was limited during these years? At least 500 cities in the U.S. enforce curfew laws on its teenagers. In most of these cities, teenagers have to be in on the weekdays before 11 and in before 12 on the weekend. These curfews are designed to prevent crime, increase parental responsibility over their kids, and to give police greater ability to prevent crime and prevent people getting involved in suspicious activity. But I would argue just the opposite of these beliefs. Curfews interfere with parental authority over their kids. They interfere with how parents want to raise their children. They also take away responsibility that teenagers should have over themselves. It also infringes upon rights given to all citizens, parents, and teenagers, and the government should not be able to interfere with these rights. Shouldn't parents have the utmost authority over their kids? I would think so, but with the curfew laws that these cities are enforcing, the government is basically saying no, they don't have that authority. Curfews take away from the rights that parents have to raise their child how they feel that they need to be raised. When the government sets curfews for these teenagers, they take away responsibility of parents to supervise their children. They take away from the accountability that parents have over their children. Government should not interfere with any of these things. The way that parents feel they need to raise their kids should be an in-home situation. It shouldn't be government involved. The government shouldn't tamper with those kinds of things. Curfews should be left up to the family to decide in a private manner. I think that it's ridiculous to tell parents that they have to raise their kids this way or you're basically wrong. As young adults, we often hear our elders say, grow up, take some responsibility yourself. It's not going to be this way in college. They're always on you. But how can we do that if we're placed under restrictions that keep us from making our own decisions and keep us from learning from our mistakes? At some point in time, we're going to have to grow up and think about what is in our best interest. And if the government is making us be in at a certain time, telling us what we can and can't do, then how is that possible? In the real world, there won't be anyone on your back constantly telling you, you have to be in, you have to get in the bed, you have to do your homework, anything like that. It's going to be you on your own, nobody. So I think that it's important that teenagers need to learn this kind of stuff. Like if you're going to stay out late then and get in trouble and get into mischief, then I mean that's on you. You have to learn. And you can't have somebody on your back constantly because, I mean, you're never going to learn that way. I think it drives people away and drives teenagers away from being what they need to be or doing what they need to do rather than pulling them back in and showing them the right thing to do. So why should curfews be enforced on us now if they're not going to be enforced on us in college or when we're older and have our own place when we're graduated from college or anything like that? You have to really learn for yourselves, and I think that's where adults get mixed up. They really have to let us see for ourselves and learn by ourselves. Not only do curfews take away the responsibility of parents and teens, they infringe upon our rights given to us by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Teenagers should not be exempt from these rights at all whatsoever. There have been many cases throughout the United States that have thrown out legal curfews because they have violated young adults' constitutional rights. One particular court in Alaska ruled against the curfew law, saying that the law was a violation of parents' and children's constitutional rights. Some have argued that the law violates the freedoms of assembly, the due process of the Fifth Amendment, which is right here. It's basically the right that we have to be treated fairly in the court system, and the protection clause of the 14th Amendment, which is basically the same thing. There's also another argument that curfew laws keep teenagers out of the streets and away from crime. I don't think that's true. I think that if we have boundaries, like 11, that's pretty early. If we have boundaries that won't allow us to go anywhere, like if you're being too strict on us, then that's just going to push more teenagers away. That's going to make more teenagers want to rebel and stray away from the system, stray away from the laws, stray away from government authority and parent authority. And I think it's just going to create more chaos. You're going to see more people in juvenile detention. You're going to see more crime rate. You're going to see higher crime rate in teenagers, because teenagers' minds, they think, well, we're not going to do this, so we're just going to rebel. I think that increases graffiti, because a lot of teenagers have a lot of things to do with that, and just really just causing trouble in local communities and local neighborhoods. The government should do away with these laws. They're discriminatory, they question parental authority, and they take away responsibility that we should have for ourselves. Instead of using curfew laws to get teens off the streets, we need to have more extracurricular activities. The government needs to try an alternative. For example, starting up more extracurricular activities, like I said, for teenagers to become involved in, like more soccer fields around the neighborhoods, more sports, more basketball goals, more parks, just more uplifting activities for teenagers to go to and for teenagers to participate in. That's not going to make them want to rebel or make them want to stay out. I know a good program that we have, it's for the younger kids, but youth empowerment is good. Church youth groups are good for teens to stay away from trouble or whatever. Local skating rinks, bowling alleys, those kind of things where kids are having real pure fun instead of bad fun, like going out, causing trouble in the neighborhood, knocking on doors, running away, making graffiti on abandoned buildings. I think all that can be prevented with uplifting, positive youth groups that are going to empower our youth and push them to want to do something for themselves rather than making them stay in or setting boundaries. Curfew laws are not the solution for any of these problems. Like I said, extracurricular activities are really important. I think they would really help, like school sports. I think more people should be involved with those. People should be encouraged to go to those sporting events. I just don't think that it's right that the government is preventing parents from raising their own children the way they need to, and I think it's infringing upon our rights. So